Are you ready for this one?
Nope.
You're not?
Of course I'm ready. I was born ready.
Boo?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm ready. Are you?
I'm very ready.
Good. All right.
Is
I'm
that gonna be
ready.
in the? Is it recording already?
Yeah.
And welcome, guys, to the Evolve podcast. This is Brendan and Rianon.
Are we gonna
This
do that?
episode, I'm taking over and I am interrogating Rianon today. So I've got a
Oh.
question for you.
Oh.
This is from the audience themselves.
Okay.
We want to know.
Yep.
When you were a child and you fell out of the back of your dad's truck, do you remember that?
I chose to erase that memory. But yes, I do remember it.
You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
So what was your earliest childhood memory?
Me falling off the back of the truck.
Was that day one?
That was day one. It just everything reset as soon as I
Just
hit the.
fully reset
Yeah.
at that moment.
I don't remember anything before that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm.
You got some
Interesting.
fluff on your cheek. There you go, mate.
Oh, cheers, mate.
Wait, you be, mate.
Oh, actually, that brings me to my next question.
Yeah.
All right. So, do you feel like the fact that your beard doesn't connect, does that impact your job? And does it affect your ability to build rapport with clients?
Who the fuck is gonna listen to this?
Oh, the audience is asking these questions. It's not
Oh,
me.
it's not you. No.
This
Were-
was from
were-
AJ.
Were these the questions that you had primed?
No.
Oh, okay. Oh,
That was
relating-
AJ.
AJ asked
AJ asked that one, and Tasha asked the first two.
about my beard.
AJ asked about your beard, yeah. If it affects your job and building rapport with clients.
In some ways,
He's concerned about it.
Yeah. In some ways, it does affect my confidence. Knowing
Yeah.
that it doesn't connect. Look, I sit there and I stroke my
Your half beard.
the 3 strands on my chin, and the 3 strands above my lip,
Yep.
and I go,
Mm.
I feel really, really low on confidence.
Low test.
Low test. Just not a real human, you know? That it
Do you
doesn't
feel
connect.
like half man?
Half. Yeah, we'll go 1/3 of a man.
1/3?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
See, I shaved
You shaved your half beard?
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's gone back to a half. What the fuck is this? We're seriously gonna post it?
Yes, we are. Okay, so
I wanted to.
we
ask-
also want to know.
Oh, okay.
Daniel
Oh,
Collins wants to know actually.
yeah.
Where's your Porsche GT3 RS?
What the fuck is this? Is this the actual podcast?
This is a podcast.
Why? How? When? What?
I asked the audience these questions. I want to know
Why
these
did
answers
you
from
ask-
you. They want to know the answers. I'm sorry.
Okay, when am I getting my Porsche GT3 RS? That's a great question.
No, he actually asked, where is it?
Oh, where is it? There's a guy in Abu Dhabi that is currently renting it.
So you've already got one?
Yeah.
Okay, I haven't heard about this.
Yeah, me either. It's all new to me as well. So
Okay,
yeah,
yeah.
you're hearing it for the first time, and so am I.
So you're renting it out in Dubai
Yeah.
right now? Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, have a sip of water.
Yeah, I might need to.
This is
I
just,
didn't know I was going to get interrogated
this
like
is just the beginning.
Mm.
This is something me and Abby want to find out.
Okay.
What are Mustangs?
Oh my god, you're throwing a Mustang class. Is that what you're referring
Yeah,
to?
yeah, that's the
yeah,
one,
a
yeah.
Mustang class. You know what? I have no idea why it was called Mustangs, but for some reason in the group training culture,
Yeah.
when you associated something that a kid would like,
I don't like group training, by the way. Anyways, go on.
when you when you associate something that is of kid form, we'll call it, to an actual group session, there's a lot more of an enticing feel about it. So it doesn't feel like you're going there to get absolutely smashed doing weights and stuff. Mustangs was like your body weight and weight group training session. So everyone that referred to Mustangs class, it was like, oh, you going to the Mustang session? And everyone knew
Wow.
automatically
Did
that it
people
was...
used to drive Mustangs when they got there?
Yeah, they did. There was one person that did.
Wow.
Yep. And
I'm driving to the Mustangs class with my Mustang.
yeah. Imagine saying that to your wife when you leave the house. I'm hopping in the Mustang. to go to Mustangs?
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So interesting place then.
Interesting questions as well. Yes.
Yeah. So she also wants to know if you could go back in time
Mm-hmm.
to when you were a fresh PT,
Yep.
fresh group trainer doing
Mhm.
these Mustangs classes, what advice would you give yourself?
Far out. You're pulling some freaking doozy questions. What advice would I give myself on how to run a Mustang class?
No, just in general as a new up and coming PT.
Mm.
If you saw yourself,
Yep.
you now saw yourself back then, what
Yep.
advice would you give yourself?
Okay. The advice that I would give myself would be to believe in myself. Believe in the fact that the group sessions that you're running are good group sessions. Don't second guess things that you created. I used to sit there a whole hour before a class and write up my programs, never actually being confident in the fact that I wrote this up and it was going to go smoothly. So I always had that hesitation of like what my work is. My work is not good enough ever. So every time I went to the classes, I'd go there an hour early. But now, if I was to give myself some feedback, it would probably be to know your worth. If I knew my worth back then, moving into where I am today would be a lot more of a different approach to personal training, to group training, to my confidence. But then it all comes back to the beard. So I didn't really have one back then. That was probably
So that
low
do you feel
confidence.
like you've built confidence as you've started developing this half beard?
Yeah, one hair at a time.
How would you describe it?
My
'Cause
beard?
they can see it if they're watching it on YouTube.
Yeah.
but
Okay. I'll describe it for you that are listening. If you're listening up until this point, I congratulate you. But anyway, okay. My beard is not a beard. It's a goatee and a mustache with a little bit of a chin coverage.
like a chin strap.
Yeah. So fluffy on the top lip, just curls over the lip. But when I straighten it, it's all good. Then you got the little triangle goatee underneath the bottom lip. And then just in line with the outside of my mustache is where my beard ends, my chin
Your
beard.
chin strap.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we can call it a chin strap.
Well, Sophie wants to know,
Okay.
who was your favorite podcast guest and why?
Oh, I'm gonna throw that back at you as well. But
No, you can't do that. This is your interrogation.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
What are we gonna put as the thumbnail? Rianon gets interrogated. Breaking news. Okay. My favorite podcast to date. You know what? They've all been pretty good. I don't have like a favorite, but every single person that I spoke to, I took something away from the session.
So you don't have a favorite?
Daniel Collins was probably my favorite in relation to me being able to learn a little bit about his story and where I was at that time in my life, and to see the leaps and bounds that I've made from that podcast has been crazy, because he was in our position at one point in his life, but he had to learn over time. That came down to reading the right books, came down to doing the right things, came down to the confidence level that he had to back himself with. I learned a lot about myself, as well as you probably did as well. You learned a little bit about your methods, what you're doing. Is it wrong? Is it right?
We talked about Daniel's podcast a lot.
We do.
Before, during, after. So.
Yeah, it was a very good podcast. That was probably one of my favorites. And then
It's the most viewed podcast as well.
it's one
I guess
of
we
them,
can drop
yeah.
that.
Oh, yep. Make sure you go watch it after this episode if you've stayed this long. Next interrogation question, go.
When are you going to hit your peak?
Oh, peak of what?
That was a question.
Oh, okay.
So
when
I
am
can't comment on these questions as the questions are being given. This
When
was
am-
by Julian.
Okay. When am I going to hit my peak? I feel like I'm getting there. It's not something I work towards,
Hitting your peak.
hitting my peak. I feel like
And what does peak mean?
look, I'm glad you asked that question, Brendan, because peak can mean different things.
Like when you peak
If
at
you
school?
look, yeah, there's that. Or you think about a stock chart, for instance. There's many peaks in a stock chart. So what is your definition of peak? What is my definition of peak? My definition of peak is consistently rising throughout the rest of your life. Finding that peak, there's always going to be drops, there's always going to be lows and highs, but the peaks are where you live in the present, you understand that it's a good peak, and not to think that it's always going to come. If you always think that a peak is going to come, then you're not really working towards what is happening right now.
Yeah.
What's your definition of peak?
Peak. I would say my definition of peak is the point that you believe after this point I'm going down and never coming back up here again.
Okay. What do you go into a little bit more?
For example, C-Bum's last bodybuilding show.
Yeah.
That would be his peak.
Okay.
Because he's retired after that. He's not going to be able to go and compete at the highest level again. So to him, that's his peak. Or Ronaldo's last
Football
game
match
for Real Madrid,
Yeah.
that was his peak in a way. Because from there, he's gone to United, and we're not going to comment on that football career, but you'd say Real Madrid was his peak.
Yeah.
From there, he's gone down, and he's not going to be able to go back to Real Madrid. You know what I mean?
I understand. I get it. But